you.
All right, Ray.
I want to make clear, because I don't hear so well, perhaps some of you don't. It was 1963, not 1953. I heard 53, but maybe it was my ears. I apologize for the unkempt nature of my appearance today. It's my Julian Assange beard, which I adopted as a sign of solidarity with my friend Julian, who, as you know, was in this kind of disheveled state when he was unceremoniously dragged out of the embassy in Ecuador, their embassy in London. So I apologize for that, and of course in this weather I can't do anything with my hair.
That's the way you are.
In a more serious vein, I'd like to recall the words of General and President Eisenhower, who said famously, "Every bullet made, every dollar spent on war, in the end is a theft. A theft from the child who is hungry, or a person who is cold, or a person who needs to be cold, or be clothed, or kept out of the rain." All right? Now, Eisenhower was a man of war. He knew war, right? That's why he didn't want any more war. He was of kind with General Smedley Butler.
Yes.
2 Medal of Honor winners, 2 Medals of Honor won, and when he reflected on it, said, "War is a racket. War is a racket, and who profits from the racket? Well, you can see who's profiting from the racket. It's the 1%. It's the military-industrial complex, which also Eisenhower pointed out. You know, the budget is a moral document.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a moral document. It shows what we choose. And whatever happened to the preference we're supposed to give to the refugee,
Yes.
to the widow,
Yes.
to the
To
orphan?
the least among us.
In biblical terms, this budget, just announced this week, is a goddamned budget.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So, about the profiteers, just one word here. Lockheed Martin, they're building the F-35. Whoa, it doesn't work. Here's an announcement 2 days ago. Headline, F-35 jet can't shoot straight. Whoa.
Louder.
A gun, the 25 millimeter gun on Air Force models of the Joint Strike Fighter has unacceptable accuracy. That means it can't shoot straight, right? And how many software problems? 873. So there'll be a slight overrun in cost, like there has already. Give me a break. Give me a break. And this doesn't make our country more secure. It just makes our 1% more rich. Okay.
Makes us less.
If we sent them to our enemies, we'd be more secure.
Senator Tillis is not very much known for civil rights promotion or looking out at our diverse community and trying to help them. He's on the Armed Services Committee, so he's one of these guys that keeps filling what I call the military-industrial congressional media complex. Let's face it, folks, the media is part of it, all right?
Yes, it is.
So I'd like to finish up with something that talks about the victims of this kind of racket, okay? And I'd like to go back to 1970, in the middle of the war in Vietnam, when Angela Davis was captured, was put in chains, and appeared on the front page of Newsweek. James Baldwin, who was in Europe at the time, wrote this letter to Angela Davis. I'd like to read some of the portions of it. November 19, 1970. This goes to the core of who we are, folks. Our original sin is racism, and we should acknowledge that.
Yes.
Open letter to my sister, Miss Angela Davis. Dear sister, one might have hoped that by this hour the very sight of chains on black flesh would be so intolerable a sight for the American people and so unbearable a memory that they would spontaneously rise up and strike off the manacles. But now, more than ever, Americans appear to measure their safety in the chains and corpses of others. And so, Newsweek can put you on its cover, chained. You look exceedingly alone, say, as the Jewish housewife in a boxcar headed for Dachau, or as any one of our ancestors chained together during the ocean passage. Well, since we live in an age in which silence is not only criminal but suicidal, I have been making as much noise as I can here in Europe on radio and TV. In fact, I just returned from a land called Germany, which was made notorious by a silent majority not so long ago.
Yeah.
Are we a silent majority? No. No way! Baldwin continues. Let me put it this way. Now listen to this. Let me put it this way. As long as white Americans take refuge in their whiteness, they will allow millions of other people to be slaughtered. So long as their whiteness puts so sinister a distance between their own experience and the experience of others, they will never feel themselves sufficiently worthwhile to become responsible for themselves. As we once put it in our black church, they will perish in their sins, that is, in their delusions. Now we do feel ourselves sufficiently worthwhile to change our fate and the fate of our children. We know that a person is not a thing and is not to be placed at the mercy of things. We know that air and water belong to all mankind, not only to the wealthy.
Right.
1970, folks.
Yeah.
Do the math. Air and water belong to all mankind. People in Flint, people everywhere in this country who are oppressed, right?
And around the world.
We know that a baby does not come into the world merely to be the instrument of somebody else's profit.
Yes.
My dear sister Angela, some of us, white and black, know how great a price has already been paid to bring a new consciousness. If we know that, then we must fight for your life as if it were our own, which it is.
Yes.
We must render impassable with our own bodies the corridor to the gas chamber, for if they take you in the morning, they will be coming for us at night. Therefore, peace, Brother James. The only thing I would add to that is that Martin Luther King Jr. famously said, there is such a thing as too late. We're really just about there, folks. It's almost too late. So we got to get together, as this crowd is, brother and sister, black and white, and yellow and green and orange, and pursue justice, expose the sins of a bloated budget that goes to the 1% and 800 software flaws, okay? And make sure that people like Tillis hear us, because he's on the Armed Services Committee. He can do a lot better, and we have to encourage him to do that. Of course, if he doesn't, he's out of here. He's out of here.
Out of here.
Thank you very much.